Hello people, welcome back to the channel, it's Dom here, and today we have some more cards to go through from Hazash's custom Dawnguard expansion, and today we have some cards which are based around skeletons and other creatures from the Soul Cairn. As you'll see here, we get another nice reminder what Nightfall does, in case anyone's forgotten, because that's the main mechanic of the set. The one thing I don't know if it did get added here was that the fact that when Nightfall is played, it now causes both lanes to become the Shadow lane. Anyway, other than that simple rundown of how to do Nightfall, or how it works, let's get through the cards. So first we have Bone Man, a 1-cost 1/3 with Summon Nightfall. Like they've mentioned here, it's just a very simple trigger for Nightfall for endurance cards, especially if you're trying to look to make a more skeletal deck. It's just a nice simple card, isn't it, for the archetype? Something to work with. Okay, moving on, we have a Mist Man with... Sorry, the artwork does make me laugh a bit because this is from somewhere else, the top bit of it. Anyway, it's a 2-cost 1/4 with Guard, which will gain +1/+1 if it's Night. So, once again, another simple skeleton card, which just synergizes with Night and becomes a 2/5 with Guard for 2 cost. During that certain effect, which is very good. And like they mentioned here, it's unlikely to get buffed out on turn 2, unless you've had a very nice set of draws. But you know, it's possible to happen. But either way, it's a very good early game card. Anyway, moving on to Chill Touched White. This is a 3-cost 1/3 which will shackle creatures damaged by Chill Touched White. When it's summoned, it deals 2 damage to a creature if it's Night. And it works a bit like the dragons that were added a while ago with the Moons of Elsewhere expansion, where they kind of shackle things that they touch. In fact, even during the Isle of Madness expansion, there was that Shambles card that basically did something like this. So it kind of links into that intelligence shackling mini archetype as well as skeletons, which is nice to see it kind of fitting into several areas. And it's basically something as well that you can kind of use to kind of slow down your opponent's plays, because it will instantly give you a shackle/removal because of its deal 2 damage. But obviously it does need Night to benefit from this factor, which is kind of the one thing that holds it back, but then makes it fair and balanced because it is just a 3-cost common card, for instance. But yeah, no, nice card. Definitely something you'd use to slow down your opponent's plays. And yeah, like I said, it's a cheaper but conditional Icy Shambles. That's exactly what it is. Anyway, next we move on to a rare card, Cemetery Raid. A 3-cost action card with Nightfall, which will obviously activate Nightfall and then will allow you to summon a creature from your graveyard, which has cost less than or equal to Night's duration. So let's say Night's on 3, for instance. That's a 3 cost or less that can just be summoned back to the field. And the thing is, realistically, it's a very good card that can be played quite early on if you want to get back something weak and you've got a little bit of Night on, or if you're really going in deep and you're in the later game, you could even still kind of get maybe Night 4 or 5 and get something quite decent back. Definitely making the card worth its value, definitely allowing a lot of cool plays. And as they've mentioned here as well, you can see it can play into some niche, as Apprentice Necromancer does, to fish out 1-cost cards. This can kind of fish out things a bit bigger, and you can see it working quite well with things as well. Like you could get back your Brotherhood Assassins, which are really good from Golem, or just anything like that. It just really allows you to kind of get back certain cards again and again, and really does allow a lot more kind of resurrection power with Endurance, which is nice to see. Okay, so next we have Skeletal Steed, which had a bit of a rework recently if you've already seen the set, so just keep that in mind. And what Skeletal Steed does is at the end of your turn, you draw it from your discard pile if it's Night, otherwise the card gets banished. So I really like the idea of this because it works like Arvak does in the Dawnguard DLC, where you can just summon him back, but obviously it plays into the Night atmosphere, and it can have some really crazy and cool combos because it's a beast plus skeleton with certain cards like Bone Colossus, meaning when it's on the board it can become even stronger. And the fact that you're able just to keep on getting it back so long as you're able to keep maintaining Night on your turn, that is, because it goes at the end of your turn, I think it's a really cool card, definitely. I did have a little review of this with its original ability, which was when it leaves your discard pile, it gains +1/+1, and at the end of your turn, if it's night, you just draw it with no risk of banishing this. And my initial thought of this original effect was that it makes it incredibly good, and is one of those things where if you didn't want to make it a unique legendary, it's a kind of card that you'd look at, and if Elder Scrolls Legends did have a limited list, it's a card that you'd want to be limited at 2, especially as Galen is part of Endurance and can give you more copies. And as they've mentioned, there's also things like Midnight Burial in Endurance, so you can get tons more copies this to the grave. But the thing is, with this ability here, it makes it that as long as you can just keep up Night, yes, you keep getting it back, and you can have all your copies keep coming back, but because there is a risk of it getting banished, and it's no longer got the buff, so it becomes a 1-cost free without any other buffs, I think this here is like significantly more balanced than what it was before. Even though it was very cool like this, it was just a bit too safe, I think. Yeah, like how he's mentioned here, the feedback and reasons why it was changed was because it was too easy to recycle, and adding that kind of risk of having it banished if you don't keep Night up makes a lot more sense. But obviously let me know in the comments what you guys thought and what you preferred. I think this is the more balanced option, but obviously if you want to win, then you'll probably just go for the original version. And finally, we have the Cairn Reaper, a mini-boss in the Soul Cairn who not many people even... I don't know, I spoke to a few of my friends who played Skyrim, and quite a few of them didn't even know this was a thing because they only popped into the Soul Cairn for the quest. But basically, you could get these like certain items that would allow you to go and fight the Cairn Reaper as a mini-boss, and it did kind of give off that kind of like Grim Reaper vibes. But anyway, it's a 12-cost 10/8 with Drain, and when summoned does Nightfall 2, and it steals health gained by your opponent, basically nullifying any of their drains. Meaning if they've got a Dark Seducer on the board, this becomes very, very good. But obviously that's one like unique card interaction, for instance. However, it does have the ability that it steals health gained by you if it's not night. So yeah, basically it means that if like night suddenly gets removed by some cards like Clear Skies or anything like that, it doesn't make this card ridiculously scary. But because it is a big 10/8, it is something that you'd want to be hitting with removal. And as we've got mentioned here, 10 plus cost cards should be feeling like your game plans, and the fact that this card works so well with like kind of drain and gaining health, it kind of really suits the Soul Cairn aesthetic, because obviously if you're not a vampire, you have to drain a bit of your life to a soul gem just to get in there. But you know, it's a very interesting card to play, and as mentioned, it could actually not be the most effective because there's a lot of removal cards, but it's still a very cool idea. And that's the set. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. If you have, like, subscribe, check out the set yourself, have your own little views, let me know in the comments what you thought of it, and I'll see you in the next one.